player that exists like that.
You saying there, in your experience in baseball, there was never a player that moved that needle
meaningfully enough that would cover their salary? Never once, and there's never been a player. And anyone who tells you otherwise, they're simply lying to you. But I'm about to give you the exception. Caitlin Clark with Unrivaled would be the example where she will bring with her a pot of money that otherwise would not be available to Unrivaled, and that would help inform me what I'd be willing to give her, which I assume is what they are willing to give her, which is going to be far greater than anyone else in the league. It will be more money overall comp than the co-founders. There will be an opportunity for more equity because it's measurable, because I bet that they've negotiated in a way with their partners that should they get this tornado of benefit, which is named Caitlin Clark, then what may be worth $1 today is worth $2 tomorrow, and they want to monetize that.
Officially, Commissioner Panic Mode has begun. Fans of Caitlin Clark have once again rejected Unrivaled. Furthermore, we're not discussing a close divide. This was a blatantly rude no thanks. Despite their best efforts, the so-called Revolutionary League is unable to purchase Caitlin Clark's supporters. The reason her supporters don't fall for the ruse when there's more money at stake is the question. Do you also say that you wouldn't see Caitlin Clark perform an unmatched role?
All strategic. They could have announced this at literally any other time. They are doing it as a negotiation tactic. We have also heard from players that the WNBA does not want players to play in Unrivaled, and they don't want them to play in overseas leagues. I have been one who has said from the beginning, I just don't see how these two leagues coexist. I don't see how they coexist if both of them are successful. At the end of the day, Unrivaled is a competitor league to the WNBA. You don't see it in any other pro sports. Now, the WNBA is different because they have a shorter season. They haven't been able to pay the players.
Okay, let's dissect this circus. Fans of Caitlin Clark were asked in a survey if they would want to see her perform in Unrivaled. Recall that this is the brand new, glitzy women's basketball league that plays 3x3 in Miami, seats around 800 people in a dimly lit gym, and somehow poses as the sport's future. It was an easy question. Is Caitlin supposed to join? And the response is no, no way. Approximately 78% refused. Approximately 22% answered in the affirmative. That isn't a rejection. I call that a body slam. No matter how many eye-catching logos or famous investors Unrivaled puts out there, people aren't buying the hype. The kicker is this. Fans of Caitlin Clark have already turned down Unrivaled. The league offered her a cool $1 million to participate for 8 weeks last year as well. Consider that. $1 million for a few months of 3x3 ball play. Her WNBA salary, meanwhile, is around $78,000. Compute. The fans unanimously rejected it twice despite the tenfold increase in revenue.
The biggest fish, David, and it's not close, is of course Caitlin Clark. And that is not a statement, as we always have to caveat, about is she the number one best player in the league? That's an argument that many have had and will continue to have in the ways that we want to Mount Rushmore everything. But in terms of the draw, the biggest free agent, the biggest economic stimulus package that can be provided to a startup like this, it's obviously her, and she is not signed.
She's bigger than even Shohei Ohtani in terms of direct. My view is that in terms of direct relation to bottom line performance of a league, you get Caitlin Clark, you are able to go to banks and present financials that are way more base case than upside case, and your base case goes higher. You have more access to capital. Your sponsorship revenue goes up. Your media rights deal, I assume there's some sort of minimum guarantee and maybe an upside, maybe whatever deal that was negotiated. Having Caitlin Clark is an absolute...
Naturally, Unrivaled's commissioner must be frantic because the league will fail if Caitlin Clark supporters don't support it. She now plays women's basketball. She is the tails, the jerseys, the ticket sales, and the ratings. No development, no Caitlin. It's that easy. Additionally, it's panic button territory when her own admirers reject the concept. Let's now discuss the arguments made by supporters. This was one of the main justifications they offered. In a league full of women who despise her, why should she play? To be honest, that's reasonable. In the WNBA, she already has to contend with envious colleagues, sour rivals, and persistent shadow. Why enter a different league if the players are essentially handpicked from the same hate group? It doesn't make any sense. However, they continue to watch her play in the WNBA among those same envious players. Thus, Unrivaled isn't all that different in theory. Just in a 3x3 format, it's the same group of guys with the same mindset. The main distinction is that Unrivaled is a diverse group of investors hoping their dubious stock will pay off, whereas the WNBA has NBA owners paying the bills. This is when the humor starts. In spite of being a new league, Unrivaled actually got closer to making money in its first year than the WNBA had in over 30 years. Last season, the W suffered a $40 million loss. Only $10 million was lost by Unrivaled, compared to the WNBA's never-ending hole that is nearly break-even. However, statistics don't alter reality. Simply said, fans don't care for it. Because, let's face it, nobody wants 3x3 basketball. It appears to be a pickup game that you may attend on a Tuesday evening at the Y. The transmission appears to be awful. Uncomfortable, dark, and vacant camera perspectives. They say they have 800 admirers, yet the picture only shows 40. No one is buying it. Furthermore, no $1 million salary will change the fact that Caitlin Clark supporters already see through the deception. This is the point at which the commissioner must be really anxious. Caitlin Clark is extremely valuable financially. She brings in $50 million a year for every league in which she participates. Not only TV ratings, retail sales, media partnerships, and ticket sales. The golden goose is her. Unrivaled keeps dangling offers since they are aware of this. However, her supporters may argue, we don't want her there. She is unable to touch it, because Caitlin Clark ultimately brings her audience with her in addition to playing basketball. Additionally, the league fails if they reject it. To reiterate, the supporters weren't simply uncertain. They just closed the door. No, said 77.5%. That's about as biased as it gets. Supporters would rather watch Caitlin play in the WNBA for peanuts than make a fortune in Miami. But due to their lack of faith in the league, the format bothers them. Furthermore, they most definitely do not want to see her assist other rivals in making money off of her.
Well, I don't want to watch her play with players that they can't stand her and that she's going to benefit their league. That's all she's doing in the WNBA is benefiting a bunch of haters and their league. Let's be real. She is women's basketball as a whole, right? So
consider it. The league gains wherever Caitlin goes. She is responsible for the WNBA's record-breaking ratings because of her owner's profit. Arenas are packed in cities thanks to her. Additionally, she receives a little portion of the value she creates. When fans witness that, they become irate. Unrivaled now want to follow in her footsteps. The fans have had enough of the freeloaders. The line has been drawn. To be honest, this rejection affects more than one poll. It indicates that Caitlin Clark's following has high expectations. They aren't just mindlessly following her around. The product, the format, and the image are important to them. Clearly, they are stating, we want real basketball, not gimmicks. Unmatched Commissioner should be alarmed by that as, if Clark's army won't even give them a chance, then who will?
There were some new announcements that just came out, and this news was announced on September 8th. So just 7 months after the conclusion of its inaugural season, Unrivaled said it has been valued at $340 million. Some of the biggest headlines throughout this entire season are the CBA negotiations. They wore the shirts at All-Star, pay us what you owe us. From what we have heard from so many players, because they've been very outspoken, they have given us a lot of information about these talks. Things are not going well. The league and the players still seem to be bumping heads and not able to come to an agreement on these CBA negotiations. Now, the deadline ends on October 31st. They can extend it, but you guys, it just gets really tricky, and I think the timing of Unrivaled announcing this...
Unrivaled continues to make an effort to appear as though it is expanding. They just presented two 2026 teams, the Hive and the Breeze. Adorable names, logos, and all that. Here's the problem. Given that you haven't even built a fan following, why are you growing? It's comparable to selling shares in a business that hasn't generated any revenue. Feels hopeless. Fans of Caitlin Clark are also able to detect desperation from a distance. Since TV figures are what sustain leagues, let's compare them now. With Caitlin Clark on ESPN, the WNBA draws enormous crowds, occasionally surpassing NBA games. They're barely getting by without her. Unrivaled, meanwhile, receives less than 150,000 views on TNT. In contrast, the Big Three League for the Ice Cubs draws around 600,000. Yes, exactly. The majority of WNBA games sans Clark and Ice Cubs retired NBA pickup games generate unmatched crowds. That is cruel. Fans are considering this and asking themselves, why waste Caitlin's time? Why place her in a dimly lit Miami gym with 800 people, subpar output, and envious teammates when she can continue to establish her image and sell out actual WNBA arenas? It isn't even a near miss. The commissioner must be in a panic because of this. Because the league won't have a chance if Caitlin's own supporters don't follow her into Unrivaled. It becomes much more intriguing at this point. In the WNBA, Caitlin Clark already receives inadequate compensation. Her Fever contract brings in about 78 grand. In comparison to the money she brings in, that is pennies. We're talking about a guy that fills arenas from coast to coast, increases jersey sales like no one else, and raises TV ratings by millions. Her salary, however, appears to be that of an entry-level office position. You'd think that fans would be ecstatic when Unrivaled offered $1 million carrot. Shorter season, less travel, and more money. It sounds ideal, doesn't it? However, no, Clark's supporters argued. That is the extent of their mistrust of Unrivaled. Instead of selling her brand to a novelty league, they would prefer to see her get inadequate compensation in the WNBA. For the commissioner attempting to construct this, it is loyalty, and that is frightening. In actuality, Caitlin Clark's brand is far more valuable than $1 million. On paper, that amount may seem significant, but it pales in comparison to what she produces. She has an annual business effect of $50 million. $1 million for 8 weeks of labor isn't very generous. There is a discount. Fans are aware of that. They don't feel impressed. Instead of lowering her to support a side hustle league, they want to see her treated like the superstar she is. Not to mention the obvious problem of player envy. Fans reject Unrivaled in part because they are aware of how such locker rooms might seem. Because the WNBA is a player-run league, the same small-time turmoil she now experiences there, eye rolls, side remarks, and players angry that she's receiving attention would be magnified and unmatched. Fans don't want Caitlin Clark in that scenario, so picture her entering into a place where half the owners despise her. They've already witnessed enough jealousy. Additionally, let's point out the obvious. Unmatched advertises itself as though it's reimagining basketball. 3x3 isn't groundbreaking. It's not thrilling. It appears to be a professional league version of a summer camp exercise. The court appears clumsy. The games are too brief. The TV product is also cruel. It doesn't matter how much the commissioner preaches improvement if fans don't want to watch. Instead of a sideshow, Caitlin Clark's admirers want to see her play basketball. Then there is the money from TV. It all boils down to TV contracts in sports. The WNBA just signed a media rights agreement for $2.2 billion. That's money that can change your life. That is what will support increased pay and growth. Do you know who facilitated that transaction? Clark, Caitlin. Not Angel Reese. AJ Wilson, no. Brianna Stewart, Clark, Caitlin. Networks were persuaded to invest in the WNBA by her celebrity. Players like Shakira Austin and others are thus set to receive larger paychecks. They are vying for ratings and are unmatched. On most evenings, they are unable to attract 200,000 viewers. They are being given a bone by TNT Sports, but it will vanish if they are unable to attract viewers.